The alien palace on the planet Zilurus stood like a giant dark mountain under a purple sky. Inside those cold metal halls lived Queen Ryla, a powerful alien ruler feared across the stars. But on this day, she was not thinking about her enemies or her empire. She was only thinking about her 3 newborn triplets. They were beautiful, shining with soft blue skin and small glowing eyes. But they did not move, not even a little. The queen's heart filled with fear every time she looked at them. The royal healers told her the same thing again and again. Your children are alive, my queen. But they are completely paralyzed. The queen refused to accept this. She believed someone cursed them. She ordered the palace engineers to install thousands of cameras inside the nursery. They were not normal cameras. They were high-tech alien lenses that could see heat, energy, movement, and even thoughts. Nothing could hide from them. And yet, every time she checked the screens, the babies lay still like statues, their small chests moving only enough to show they were alive. Every worker in the palace feared entering the nursery, except one person, a human janitor named Evan. He was quiet, simple, and worked hard. He cleaned floors, repaired small things, and always stayed respectful. Humans were uncommon on Zilurus. Most aliens believed humans were weak. But Queen Ryla trusted Evan more than she trusted her own guards. She had once seen him save a dying alien child from a fire. Because of that, she allowed Evan to enter even the most protected rooms. One day, the queen called him to the nursery. Her voice echoed with warning. Evan, if anything happens to my children, you will be the first to suffer. Evan bowed his head and nodded slowly. He felt fear rise inside him, but he also felt something else. He felt concern for the tiny babies lying silently on the floating bed. As he began to clean the room, he noticed something strange. When he stepped near the triplets, their glowing eyes followed him. Very small movements, almost too tiny to see. But he saw it clearly. He froze, wondering if he was imagining things. He stepped away, and their eyes returned to normal. He stepped near again. Their eyes shifted. Blinking once, twice, 3 times, Evan felt a chill run down his arms. He looked at the cameras on the walls. They were watching everything. If the queen saw the babies move, even a little, she would come running, but he knew she would not believe him if he spoke. She believed only what the camera showed, so he continued cleaning while watching the triplets in the corner of his eye. Hours passed. The queen left the nursery to attend a royal meeting. Evan remained alone with the silent triplets and the soft humming of machines. Sometimes he whispered to the babies. He didn't know why. Maybe because he felt lonely. Maybe because their glowing eyes made him feel watched. He said gentle words like, "You're safe, and I'm here." And every time he spoke, the babies blinked faster, as if they understood him. Then something unbelievable happened. A tiny spark of light flickered on one of the cameras. The screen glitched for 1 second, just 1 small second. But in that second, Evan saw movement, the smallest movement a baby could make. The baby's finger twitched, barely noticeable, like the wing of an insect touching air, but it was real. Evan's eyes widened. He stared at the screen, unable to breathe. The glitch ended. The cameras returned to normal. The baby lay still again, but Evan knew what he saw. He stepped closer to the floating bed. Slowly, carefully, he whispered, "Can you hear me?" The babies blinked in a pattern. 1 blink, pause. 2 blinks, pause. 1 blink again. It was not random. It was communication. But Evan didn't understand the meaning yet. He reached out his hands slightly, not touching them, only offering. And then the lights flickered. All the cameras in the room froze for half a heartbeat. And the baby moved again. This time, a finger curled and uncurled. A real, clear movement. Evan stumbled backward, shocked. He looked around the room. It felt like something invisible had entered. Something watching him from the shadows. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He whispered softly, "What are you trying to tell me?" But before the babies could blink again, the nursery door slid open with a loud metal hiss. Queen Ryla stepped in, her eyes sharp and suspicious. She looked at Evan, then at the babies, then at the cameras. Something in her expression changed, as if she sensed something she could not explain. And Evan realized one terrifying thing. If the Queen discovered the babies moved only when he was present, she might think he caused it, and his life would be in danger. He swallowed hard as the Queen stepped closer. Her voice cold as ice. "Human, what did you see while I was gone?" Evan stood still, unsure whether truth would save him or destroy him. Evan stood frozen as Queen Ryla entered the nursery. Her tall shadow stretched across the shining floor like a warning. She looked at him with eyes that burned like blue fire. She did not blink, not even once. The cameras hummed softly behind her, capturing every second. Evan felt the weight of their gaze like cold fingers on his back. "Human, what did you see while I was gone?" the Queen asked. Her voice sharp but controlled. Evan swallowed hard, trying to keep his voice steady. "Nothing unusual, my Queen," he replied carefully. His heart beat faster, almost painfully, because he knew he had just spoken a dangerous lie. The Queen stepped closer to the floating crib where her triplets lay. Her long robes brushed the floor like moving shadows. She studied the babies, her face softening for the first time. Her glowing hands hovered above the children, almost touching them. A mother's worry fought against a ruler's anger inside her, but she saw no movement, no blinking code. No twitching fingers, only silence. She turned back to Evan. "If I learn that you hide something from me, human, I will punish you without mercy," she warned coldly. Evan bowed his head. "Yes." "My Queen," he whispered. She left the nursery. But her suspicion stayed behind like a heavy cloud. When the door closed, the room fell silent again. Only the soft hum of machines and soft breathing of the triplets filled the air. Evan slowly exhaled, trying to calm himself. Then he looked at the babies again. Their eyes, those glowing. Intelligent eyes were now fixed on him, all three pairs watching him as if they knew he had protected them. Evan moved closer. He lowered his voice to a whisper. "I need to understand what you're trying to say." The babies blinked again. In that strange pattern, one blink from the first baby, two from the second, one from the third, pause, then repeat. It was intentional. It was communication. Evan felt sure of it now. He took a small notebook from his pocket. He wrote down every blink pattern. 1, 2, 1, pause. 1, 2, 1, pause, again and again. It almost looked like a signal, but he didn't know the meaning yet. As he studied them, he noticed something else. The babies reacted differently to each of his words. When he said hello, their eyes brightened. When he said Queen, they blinked quickly, almost nervously. When he said help, their eyes widened as if the word touched something deep inside them. Evan suddenly felt they were not blinking randomly. They were trying to talk to him, trying to send a message only he could understand. He whispered, "Do you want help? Immediately?" All three babies blinked once together. A single, strong, perfect blink. Evan felt a chill run through him. They were answering him. They understood him. But how? How could paralyzed newborns communicate like this? What strange intelligence lived inside them? What happened to them at birth? Evan leaned close. "What happened to you?" he asked softly. The babies blinked again, fast, urgent, almost panicked. Evan wrote it down, trying to decode it. His hands shook as he matched patterns. He saw something familiar. Something that looked like human Morse code. A code of dots and dashes, but here it was blinks and pauses. Evan tested his guess. If I say letters, blink when it matches. He started slowly. A, he said. No response. B, nothing. C, still nothing. He continued until H, blink. I, blink. S, blink, blink, blink. Evan watched the pattern repeat. H-I-S. His, Evan whispered, confused. His, what? The babies blinked urgently. Their tiny faces tense, their glowing eyes wide. Evan felt fear rise inside him. Something was wrong. Something bigger than he could imagine. Do you mean someone did this to you? He asked. Blink. Someone cursed you. Blink. Blink, who? No movement, only fear in their eyes. Evan felt a light breeze inside the room, but the windows were sealed. The door was locked. The air should not move. A faint whisper touched the back of his neck. Like a voice made from cold air, he spun around, but no one was there. The cameras still watched in silence. The lights flickered once. The baby's eyes followed something behind Evan. Something he could not see. Evan felt his skin crawl. He whispered, "Are you afraid?" All three babies blinked together. Yes, they were terrified before he could speak again. The nursery door suddenly opened. A royal guard stepped inside with heavy steps. Human. The Queen wishes to see you now, he announced. Evan hid his notebook quickly inside his pocket. He looked one last time at the triplets. Their eyes begged him not to leave. Evan felt torn between fear and responsibility. He whispered softly, "I will come back." The babies blinked once. Trusting him, and Evan followed the guard, not knowing the Queen's next words would change everything. Evan walked behind the royal guard through the long metal hallway. The lights above flickered softly, as if the entire palace felt nervous. The guard did not speak. He only marched forward with heavy metallic steps. Evan's heart pounded in his chest. He kept thinking about the blinking message the triplets gave him. Those strange letters, those fearful eyes, that cold whisper in the nursery. None of it made sense yet, but he knew one thing for sure. Something in the palace was wrong, deeply wrong. The guard stopped at a tall door with glowing blue symbols. He pressed his hand against the scanner. The door slid open with a deep sound inside. Queen Ryla stood alone in a dark chamber filled with floating screens. Each screen showed camera footage from different parts of the palace. She did not turn around as Evan entered. She only spoke in a voice sharp enough to cut air. Evan, step forward. He obeyed, trying to hide the fear shaking his hands. The Queen's eyes studied the screens one by one. Her face looked colder than before, colder than the metal around them. "Something is happening in my palace," she said quietly. "Something that even my cameras cannot fully see." She finally turned to Evan. Her expression unreadable. "You were alone in the nursery for many hours." Her voice dropped lower. "My children's cameras glitched during that time." Evan's throat went dry. He tried to stay calm. Glitched, she had seen the error on her screens. But she had not witnessed the baby's finger movement. The glitch had hidden it. Evan stayed silent, unsure what to say. The Queen stepped closer, her tall figure towering over him. "Did you notice anything unusual?" she asked. Her voice was softer this time. It almost sounded like a worried mother instead of a powerful ruler. Evan slowly shook his head. "No, my Queen." "Nothing strange," he lied gently. She stared at him for a full minute, her glowing eyes searching for truth in his face. But she found nothing. She turned away, waving her hand. "You may leave." Evan bowed and backed out of the chamber, but just before the door closed, he heard the Queen whisper to herself, "They should not be like this." The ritual was harmless. Evan froze. The door shut behind him with a final click. What ritual? What had she done to the babies? Why did she think it was harmless? He needed answers. He needed them fast. He walked through a side hallway leading to the palace archives. This part of the palace was old, dusty and rarely visited. The lights were dim, and the cold air smelled like forgotten secrets. Rows of floating data crystals lined the walls like silent guards. Evan started searching through them. He looked for anything related to the royal birth. Anything about a ritual or a curse. Anything that could explain the triplets' strange condition after almost an hour. He found a crystal with the label Royal Birth, restricted. His hands trembled as he slipped it into the hologram reader. A projection appeared in front of him. The recording showed a room filled with alien priests wearing silver masks. In the center lay the newborn triplets, crying softly, moving normally. They were not paralyzed yet. Evan's breath caught. They were healthy babies, moving, stretching their tiny arms, blinking like normal children. Then a tall masked priest approached with a glowing bowl of energy. He whispered ancient words Evan did not understand. The room darkened, the babies stopped moving. Their bodies stiffened as if frozen by invisible chains. The queen screamed and rushed toward them. The priests tried to calm her, but her babies lay silent. Their eyes open but empty. The recording ended. Evan stepped back, shocked. His hands shook. His heart raced. "What did they do to you?" he whispered to the memory of the babies. Suddenly, the air in the archive grew cold. The lights flickered. A soft whisper flowed through the room like smoke. "You should not have seen that." Human Evan spun around. A shadow stood behind him. Darker than darkness itself, it had no shape, no face. Only glowing threads, like broken stars, inside its body. Its voice echoed inside Evan's mind. "I was there when they took what belonged to me." Evan tried to run, but his feet refused to move. The shadow moved closer, its presence pressing against his lungs. "You cannot save them," it hissed. "They are mine now." Evan forced his voice out, trembling. "Who are you?" The shadow leaned near his face, its voice colder than death. "I am the Whisperer," it said, "and the triplets are my curse." The lights died completely. The room went black, and Evan felt the shadow reaching toward him. The archive room was completely dark. Only the cold whisper of the shadow filled the air. Evan could not move his arms or legs. It felt like invisible chains wrapped around his body. His breath came out in short, shaky gasps. His heart slammed inside his chest like a warning drum. The shadow floated closer, its form shifting like smoke, sometimes thin, sometimes wide, sometimes stretching like long claws, but always dark. So dark that the air around it seemed to sink. Inside the shadow were tiny glowing sparks like dying stars. They flickered whenever the creature spoke. "I watched them," the whisperer said. "I watched the queen steal what was mine." Its voice echoed in Evan's head more than in the air. It was not speaking to his ears. It was speaking to his thoughts, and it hurt. It felt like sharp ice sliding through his mind. Evan forced himself to speak. "What? What did she steal?" The shadow circled him like a hunting creature. "My children," it hissed slowly. "They were not hers to keep." Evan's heart froze. "Your children," he whispered in shock. "The triplets." "Your children," the whisperer's body twisted into a shape that almost looked like a face. "Born with my power," it said. "They carry my energy, my mind, my light." Its voice dropped lower, but the queen tried to cut me out. Evan remembered the ritual from the recording. The glowing bowl, the priests in silver masks. The sudden paralysis, the whisperer spoke again. "They locked my children in silence. They trapped their bodies. But their minds remain awake." Evan felt anger rise inside him, along with fear. "You cursed them," he said. "You paralyzed your own babies." The shadow flared with cold light. "They are paralyzed because of the queen's ritual," it said. "I placed a seal to protect them from her." Evan's head spun with confusion. He didn't know who to believe, the queen or this ancient shadow. Both sides sounded dangerous. Both sides sounded wrong. "But why can they move when I'm near?" Evan asked, his voice almost a whisper. The whisperer moved close, inches from his face. "Because you are human," it said. "Humans carry a rare energy. A balance, a harmony that can break my seal." Evan felt the meaning hit him like a shock. That's why the babies blink. Why they move when I'm close. The whisperer's voice slithered into his thoughts. "They chose you," it said. "They cry for you, and that makes you a threat to me." Suddenly, the shadow lashed out like a long arm. Evan felt a cold grip wrap around his throat. He gasped, unable to breathe. The whisperer whispered deeply, "If you try to free them, you will die." The air grew colder, more painful. The shadow tightened its grip slowly. "You cannot fight me, human," it said. "You cannot fight a creature older than your son." Evan's vision blurred. He felt his strength slipping away. But then something strange happened. The archive crystals began to glow softly. One of them lit up brighter than the rest. A warm, golden light filled the air. The whisperer recoiled. It screamed in a soundless way. Like tearing metal, it pulled back from Evan. Releasing his throat, the golden light expanded, burning the air like sunlight. The shadow twisted away, trying to avoid it. "No," the whisperer hissed. "That light is forbidden." Evan fell to his knees. Gasping for breath, he grabbed the glowing crystal without thinking. It felt warm, alive, powerful images flashed in his mind. A tall alien king standing before the whisperer. A battle of light and shadow, a desperate deal made long ago. The light grew stronger, the shadow weakened, before escaping into the ceiling like smoke. The whisperer whispered, "This is not over. Human, you cannot protect them from me." Then it vanished. The room fell silent again. Only Evan's shaking breaths broke the stillness. He slowly stood up, clutching the golden crystal. His hands trembling, he knew now that he was trapped in something far bigger than he imagined. Something ancient, something deadly. The triplets were caught between the queen and the whisperer, and he was the only one who could reach them. The only one they trusted. Evan turned toward the exit. He had to return to the nursery. He had to check if the babies were safe. He had to tell them they were not alone, but as he stepped into the hallway, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. The queen was standing there, her eyes glowing with anger, fear, and something even worse. She pointed her staff at him and said in a voice that shook the walls, "Human, you have seen things you were never meant to see." Evan froze in the hallway as Queen Ryla raised her glowing staff toward him. Her tall figure looked larger than ever. Her long robes moved like living shadows. Her eyes burned with a mix of fear and fury. Evan felt as if the entire palace was staring at him through her gaze. "Human," she said, in a voice that trembled with anger. "You entered the restricted archives without permission." Her voice echoed down the long corridor. Every word sounded like a blade against stone. Evan held the glowing crystal tightly. Its warm light pulsed through his fingers like a heartbeat. "My queen," he said carefully. "I can explain." But she stepped closer. Her staff pulsed with blue fire. "No explanations," she said. "You touched knowledge that only the royal bloodline may see. And now?" The palace sensors detected a forbidden energy. Evan's heart dropped. She knew something supernatural had happened. She sensed the whisperer's presence, but she believed Evan caused it. Not the shadow, not the truth, just him. She pointed her staff directly at his chest. "You will hand over the crystal. You will answer my questions in the interrogation chamber." The word interrogation made Evan's stomach twist. He had seen the chamber before. It was not a place anyone returned from unchanged. Evan stepped back slowly. "My queen, please listen. There is something dangerous in your palace. The babies. Your triplets. They're trying to talk. The queen's eyes widened for a split second, but her anger returned just as fast. "Silence," she ordered. "My children are paralyzed. They cannot speak." Evan shook his head. "They blink in patterns. They move when I'm close." That shadow creature, the queen's face twisted with rage. "Stop," she shouted. Guards ran into the hallway from both sides. Their armored steps thundered on the metal floor. Evan held up his hands. "I am not your enemy. I am trying to save your babies." But the guards surrounded him with laser spears raised. One wrong move and he would be dead. The queen motioned at the glowing crystal in Evan's hand. "That object does not belong to you. That light is ancient. That light is dangerous." Evan decided then he could not give it to her. Not until he understood it fully. Not until the triplets were safe. He tightened his grip. The crystal glowed brighter. A soft wave of warm energy swept through the hallway. The guards stepped back in fear. The queen stared at it with shock. "That crystal responds to you," she whispered. "No human should be able to activate it before anyone could react." The palace lights flickered violently. Every screen in the walls glitched. A cold wind rushed through the corridor. Evan felt it instantly. The whisperer was near. A long dark shadow appeared on the ceiling, stretching like smoke across the metal beams. Evan stepped back. The queen raised her staff. Her eyes widened with real fear for the first time. "What is that?" she breathed softly. The whisperer's voice echoed through every speaker in the hallway. "You cannot protect them. Queen Ryla, you cannot hide from me." Its voice made every guard shake. Some dropped their weapons. The queen's staff dimmed. Her hands trembled. She looked nothing like a ruler. She looked like a mother afraid for her children. The shadow swirled above them, a dark storm ready to attack. Evan clutched the crystal tighter. Its golden light grew stronger. The shadow hissed in pain. "Human," the whisperer growled. "You dare carry the light of the ancient king." Evan didn't understand the meaning, but the queen did. Her eyes widened further. "That crystal? That is the light of Orion, a power sealed away since the First War." Evan did not have time to ask what that meant. The whisperer shot downward like a spear of darkness. The guards screamed and ran. The queen raised her staff, but the shadow knocked her aside. Evan stood alone in the center of the hall. The whisperer lunged at him. But the golden crystal exploded with light. A huge wave pushed the shadow backward. It screeched, twisting violently. The palace walls shook, lights shattered, and the whisperer vanished into the vents like smoke escaping fire. Silence fell. Dust floated in the air. The queen slowly stood up, her breathing heavy. She looked at Evan with shock, confusion, and a strange hint of respect. "You saved me," she whispered. Evan lowered the crystal. "I told you." "My queen, I'm trying to help." The queen stepped closer, her face serious, her voice low. "Then you will tell me everything." Evan nodded slowly, but before he could speak, a loud alarm rang through the palace. A robotic voice echoed. "Nursery breach, nursery breach." Evan and the queen looked at each other. Fear hit both of them at the same time. The whisperer was going for the triplets. And they ran, as fast as they could, toward the nursery. Not knowing if they were already too late, asterisk alarms echoed through the palace like giant metal bells shaking the air. Evan and Queen Ryla ran together down the long, glowing hallway. Their footsteps pounded in rhythm with the alarm. "Nursery breach." The robotic voice repeated again and again. Each word felt like a knife in the queen's heart. She sprinted faster, her face full of fear and rage. Evan kept pace beside her, clutching the golden crystal tightly. Its warm pulse guided him like a living heartbeat. The doors to the nursery slid open with a loud hiss. Cold air rushed past them, carrying a strange smell of burnt metal. Inside, the room was dark. All the lights flickered as if something drained their power. The cameras in the wall sparked and hung loosely from their sockets. Every machine was half broken or frozen. The floating crib glowed faintly in the center of the room. The paralyzed triplets lay silently inside it. But their eyes were wide open, full of fear. They looked at Evan the moment he entered. Blinking fast, desperate, almost pleading. Queen Ryla ran to her children. She checked their bodies. Their breathing, their energy signals. Her hands shook. "They are alive," she whispered with relief. But the whisperer was here. Evan felt the cold presence still lingering in the air. It felt like the shadow's darkness clung to the walls. He stepped closer to the babies. Their blinking had changed. It was faster, chaotic, like an alarm of their own. "What are they trying to say?" the Queen asked. Her voice cracked with worry. Evan watched the blink pattern carefully. It was not random. It was urgent. It repeated again and again, D-on-G. "Danger," Evan whispered. "They're saying danger." The Queen's face tightened. She turned toward him. "You claim my children speak to you," she said. Evan nodded. Her eyes softened with fear. "Then tell me." "Evan, what danger is coming?" Evan looked at the golden crystal in his hand. Then he looked at the triplets. Their glowing blue eyes reflected the warm light from the crystal. And suddenly he understood something. Something he should have realized sooner. "When I'm near them," Evan said slowly, "they can move. They can talk through blinking." The whisperers said humans carry a balance energy. A harmony that breaks his seal. Evan took a deep breath. "I think I'm the key." The Queen stared at the crystal. Its golden light warmed the room. Pushing back the shadows in the corners, she whispered softly, "The light of Orion chose you. Only someone pure of heart can activate it." Evan shook his head. "I'm just a janitor. I'm nobody." The Queen stepped closer. Her voice softened. "In my world, power does not choose rank. It chooses spirit." Before Evan could answer, a deep rumble shook the floor. The walls trembled as if something massive moved beneath the palace. A soft whisper slithered through the air. Not loud, not angry, but full of cruel confidence. "You cannot hide them from me," the whisperer's voice, cold as ice water pouring down Evan's back. The Queen lifted her staff. A bright blue shield formed around the crib. But cracks appeared instantly as if something was pressing against it from the inside of darkness. Evan felt the golden crystal vibrate like it was calling him to act. He stepped beside the Queen. "We need to work together," he said firmly. The Queen hesitated. She had never relied on a human before. But she looked at her children. Then she looked at Evan, and she nodded. "For them," she whispered. The two of them raised their powers toward the crib. Golden light and blue royal energy mixed together. The room brightened as if a small sun was born inside it. The babies blinked slowly now, their fear fading, their eyes glowing brighter. Then the whisperer appeared, forming from the shadows like smoke twisting into shape. Its body larger than before, its sparks glowing brighter with anger. "You cannot stop me," it hissed. "They carry my power. They belong to the darkness." The Queen shouted, "No. They are mine. They are the future of my kingdom." Evan stepped forward. His heart raced, but he didn't stop. He held up the golden crystal. It exploded with warm light, filling the room. The whisperer screamed, twisting backward. Its body melted into the darkness like ink swirling through water. The Queen's shield strengthened. The triplets blinked a new pattern. SFIK, EPG, AOING. Safe. "Keep going," Evan translated. The Queen gasped. "They're guiding us." The whisperer roared angrily. Its body split into several shadow arms, reaching toward the crib. Evan and the Queen pushed their energy together. The room shook like a storm was trapped inside it. The whisperer shrieked, "You cannot break the ancient curse. You cannot free them." Evan stepped closer, his voice steady for the first time. "Watch me." The light grew brighter. The shadow weakened, the triplets blinked faster. Helping, guiding, supporting, the Queen and Evan shared the same purpose now. Protect the children, break the curse, end the shadow's hold. But the Whisperer suddenly whispered something new. Something that chilled both of them. "If you break the seal," it hissed, "the truth about their father will destroy you both." Evan and the Queen froze. "What father?" the Queen whispered in shock. The Whisperer only laughed, a laugh colder than death. And the room fell silent again, waiting for the truth to break everything. Asterisk silence fell over the nursery like a heavy blanket. The Whisperer's cold words hung in the air. The Queen stared at the shadow, her eyes wide with shock. "My children have no father," she whispered. Her voice sounded fragile. More fragile than Evan had ever heard. The Whisperer twisted slowly, its shape stretching like long dark smoke. "Every life has a father," it hissed. "Your triplets were not born from royal blood alone. They carry a power older than your throne." Evan looked at the Queen. Her face turned pale, her hands trembled on her staff. "What truth are you hiding?" she demanded, her voice cracked. "I demand the truth." The Whisperer's sparks brightened inside its body. Its voice echoed through the room like a cold wind. "I am their father," it said. The Queen gasped as if stabbed by invisible blades. She stepped backward, shaking her head. "No," she whispered. "That cannot be." The Whisperer lifted its long, shadowy arms. "During the ancient ritual," it said, "you called for power. You begged the stars to bless your children with strength, and the universe answered you." With me, Evan felt the truth settle like a stone in his chest. The ritual, the paralysis, the strange, blinking intelligence, it all made sense now. The triplets were born with a piece of the Whisperer's energy inside them. A part of the darkness, a part of the light. The Queen shook with rage and horror. "You cursed them," she shouted. "You trapped them in silence." The Whisperer laughed softly. "I tried to protect them," it said. "But your ritual fought me. It locked them between worlds." The babies blinked slowly now. Not in fear, but in sadness. As if they understood everything. As if they had always known. Evan stepped closer. The golden crystal glowed in his hand. Its light pulsed stronger than before. He felt warmth spreading through his body, almost like courage. Almost like the energy of the triplets flowing into him. "Enough," Evan said, his voice steady, his eyes fixed on the Whisperer. "I don't care who their father is. I only care that they live." The Whisperer hissed, shrinking back from the golden glow. "You cannot break the seal," it whispered, "if you try. The mixed energy will destroy them." Evan turned to the Queen. "We can do this," he said gently. "We can save them together." The Queen looked at her triplets. Her children, her entire world, tears gathered in her glowing eyes. She lowered her staff and whispered, "Yes." She placed her hand on the edge of the floating crib. Evan stepped beside her. The triplets blinked slowly. Softly, "H-O-P, hope," the Whisperer screamed. "Stop," but Evan raised the golden crystal high. Its light exploded like a sun inside the room, filling every corner, burning every shadow. The Queen's royal blue energy rose from her hands. It mixed with Evan's golden light, spiraling upward into a swirling fusion. The baby's eyes glowed brighter and brighter. Their small bodies lifted an inch above the bed, wrapped in warmth like a protective cocoon. The Whisperer thrashed violently, its body cracked by beams of golden fire. "You will destroy them," it roared, but the triplets blinked again. A strong, clear signal, TRUST. Evan's heart filled with determination. He pushed more energy from the crystal. The Queen poured more royal force into the cocoon. Their powers combined into a blinding pillar of light. And then the impossible happened. A loud crack echoed through the air. The curse shattered. The golden cocoon burst into soft white sparkles. The room fell silent, so silent Evan could hear his own heartbeat. The triplets lay still for a moment. Then one baby moved its hand. Another baby kicked its tiny foot. The third baby opened its mouth and cried loudly, not in pain, but in life, in freedom. The queen fell to her knees, tears flowing down her face. "My children," she whispered, "they are free." Evan felt tears in his eyes too. He watched as the babies moved for the first time without fear, their small glowing arms reaching toward him. The whisperer shrieked in agony as its form dissolved. The golden light burned through every piece of its dark energy. "No," it screamed. "Without my power, they cannot survive." But the triplets blinked one final message. Free, and the whisperer faded into dust. Gone, silenced forever. The queen rose slowly and turned to Evan, her expression full of gratitude and awe. "No human has ever saved my family," she whispered. "No human has ever saved my world." She bowed deeply before him. A queen bowing to a janitor, a moment no one in Xylaris would ever believe. Evan lowered his head in respect. "I only did what anyone should do," he said softly. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are no longer a janitor," she said. "You are now protector of the royal children." The triplets reached out to Evan again, their tiny hands glowing with soft blue light, and for the first time, they giggled, free, happy, alive. Evan smiled, knowing his life had changed forever, and that a human heart had saved an alien kingdom.